AI is moving fast. So fast, it's hard to keep up. In fact, in ServiceNow's latest AI Maturity Index, scores dipped 20% from last year. But that's okay, because AI isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. You may be behind today, but tomorrow you could be a pace setter. Dive into ServiceNow's AI Maturity Index and see how you can innovate as fast as your ambitions. Visit servicenow.com/AI maturity.
Choice Hotels get you more for your money so you can maximize any road trip. Like with the road trippers we see here in their natural habitat, the breakfast area at a Comfort Inn. Here's a dad teaching his son how to make waffles, fluffy golden waffles. There's a mom making sure her daughter eats some fruit to avoid the "I'm hungry" from the back seat. And a sibling standoff over the last muffin. This is the cycle of vacation maximizationing in all its glory. Check into more. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. It is finally here. Donkey Kong Bananza, the first Nintendo-developed platformer for Switch 2, has arrived, and I cannot think of a better guest to have on to talk about it. But first, we have some big news about the upcoming Zelda movie, and we're going to talk a little bit about another video game movie that is coming very soon. Joining me for all of that is IGN and Nintendo Voice Chat's Logan Plant. Logan, how are you doing today?
Hey Brian, doing great. Donkey Kong is so awesome. I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I am so stoked that you are able to come on here. We, unfortunately, at Game Informer are not back up on the Nintendo pre-release distribution list quite yet. Hopefully that'll be changing very soon, so I may have to rely a little bit heavier on you than I have in past review episodes. But you've come on, like when Game Informer was shut down and I was not even in the conversation to get pre-release codes, you were able to carry the conversation just there. So I have my full faith placed in you. So thank you so much for coming on here.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
And talk to me a little bit about how Nintendo Voice Chat's going.
Oh, it's going super well. Yeah, we just did an episode a couple weeks ago that I'm really proud of to commemorate 10 years since Satoru Iwata's passing. And that was just a really interesting episode to sit down and put together with Per Schneider. And we kind of talked about Iwata's time at Nintendo from when he was at HAL and worked with Sakurai and actually hired Sakurai. And then when he was president of Nintendo, all the way to kind of how his legacy is still impacting the company. So yeah, I really love that episode and the show's going great.
And you know what? I did a very similar episode last week of this very show, and I have to say, I'm assuming you got similar reception, but people really latched on to that episode. And I mean, he was such an incredible, not just mind, but just like influence on that entire era of Nintendo, even before he worked at Nintendo, when he was just at HAL. Like he just had this aura of this is the guy. Like everybody knew that, like even Yamauchi, when he recommended Iwata to be the president of HAL before Iwata made the leap to Nintendo, it was like, yeah, everybody knew that this was like the genius that had the vision.
Yeah, it's very cool. And you can just tell by the way everyone talks about him that knew him, just the reverence they have for him, the love that they have for him. And yeah, like Reggie, I think, said that he still thinks about him every single day and things like that. So yeah, I think we still feel his absence and miss him a lot. But yeah, fun that we can look back and honor him in that way. Yeah,
and the way that I said it at the end of the episode, after I was talking about kind of how he was like, working basically up until he passed away in 2015, was that he, on his way out, kind of left Nintendo with two major blessings. And it was returning the company to profitability at the end of 2015, and then also, heading up Switch 2's development for a very large chunk of its development. And we saw what that did for the company going forward. It really ushered it into like this era of affluence that they're in right now.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
So we will be talking all about your review of Donkey Kong Bananza later on in this episode. But is there anything else going on over at IGN that you'd like to plug before we really jump in with both feet?
Just Comic-Con coverage is coming up next week, so go check that out. But no, let's get to it. Let's get to DK, or I guess the other stories we have first.
Yeah, we have a couple other things to talk about. But also, this is the first time I've had you on since the Switch 2 came out. How are you enjoying it?
I love it. Yeah, I think it's really great. It does just feel like kind of like a phone upgrade, which is fine. That's all that I really needed or wanted. I wish the battery life was a little bit better. I think that's the main hang up I have with it. But no, I mean, I love how the upgraded Switch 1 games run. Like, I've been replaying Link's Awakening because that game looks amazing now. I really like Mario Kart World. Obviously love DK, so no, I think it's been a big win so far.
Yeah, and I mean, I love upgrading my phone. So like, I have an upgrade
Yeah,
due this
fair, yeah.
October. I am stoked. I am so excited to get a new phone. So like, yeah, I don't mind a kind of an iterative upgrade, especially when I think the Switch 1, before the Switch 2 came out, was Nintendo's probably their best system ever
Me
in
too.
terms of like library, in terms of features and all that stuff. So I don't mind just a better version of what I think is probably their best.
Yeah, same.
So before we jump in, just a reminder that you are listening to the All Things Nintendo podcast. This show arrives completely free every single week. But if you'd like to support me and allow me to keep making these episodes week after week, you can join the Patreon for as little as $3 a month. That gets you access to the community Discord, which we will have a Q&A episode coming up very soon here. I have some travel coming up for work. So that usually means doing an evergreen episode. There are also $5 and $10 tiers to get you access to early and ad-free episodes, plus shout-outs at the end of every episode. Just go to patreon.com and search All Things Nintendo. It would really help the show continue if you're able to join up. Otherwise, if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, that is a completely free way to support the show. And if none of that works for you, just tell a friend. Look, this show started under Game Informer, but it is now completely independent, even though Game Informer is back. So any support that you can give helps the show out a lot. So, Logan, we are going to be talking about Donkey Kong Bananza, but a couple of news stories to get to, and they both happen to be movie related. So this week, we got one of those tweets from Nintendo that starts with the vaunted, infamous line, "This is Miyamoto." And I've always said that when a tweet starts like that, you know something is about to go down.
Yeah, very true.
And that was precisely the case here, as we can finally stop our fan casting and set aside our worries that Link was going to be played by either Tom Holland or Timothée Chalamet in the upcoming live-action Zelda movie, because we now have our official casting for both Link and Zelda. So Zelda is going to be played by Bo Bragason, while Link will be played by Benjamin Evan Ainsworth. And I will be honest with you, Logan, I have never heard of these actors before this announcement, but they are both quite young. So Bo Bragason, who plays Zelda, is in her early 20s. And her most recent credit appears to be a Disney Plus series called Renegade Nell, which I am not familiar with.
Never heard of it. No, me neither.
And then Link's actor, Benjamin Evan Ainsworth, is just 16 years old. And his most notable role, as far as I can tell, is he was the voice of Pinocchio in the live-action remake of that.
Okay,
which
sure. Why not?
Is hilarious that they casted a person who is known for voice acting when Link isn't exactly known for his words.
Yeah.
But he was also in the Netflix series The Haunting of Bly Manor, which I haven't seen, but I have heard of that before.
Yeah, me too.
First reaction here, Logan.
First reaction is I hadn't heard of either of them, and that's exactly what I would have wanted. I didn't want any big celebrity stunt casting for these two characters. I wanted it to just be some kind of no-names, and I'm excited that's what it is. I still just have doubts in general about a live-action Zelda movie. I was really, really low on it when it was announced, but then I did see Wes Ball, who is directing it. I saw his Planet of the Apes movie, which was very Breath of the Wild in a lot of ways, and I can start to see the vision a little more. And this doesn't make me excited, but it doesn't make me less excited like some casting announcements could have.
Yeah, I still remember where I was when we got the Mario movie cast and just laughing maniacally as they're like, Chris Pratt is Mario and Keegan-Michael Key is Toad and
Yeah, that was
Charlie Day is Luigi. And I was like, all right, I can kind of see that one. And then when they announced Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong and Jack Black as Bowser, I was like, all right, now they're kind of cooking here. Like those make sense. This had the exact opposite reaction where it got like, I was like, okay, I guess good. Like they both look the part. Like I can see both of them as their respective characters. And they did a very good job when they shared those images to be like, this is like the most Zelda-esque picture that we can find of this actress. And here's just the baby-faced actor that's playing Link, which, you know, I guess we're getting a young Link story, which I'm not angry at. Like
I don't know,
think
are we? I feel like Link is older Link is usually a teenager. Like Breath of the Wild Link is 17 years old. Like
Yeah,
young
that's
Link is like
fair.
10 years old. Like in Ocarina of Time, like young Link is I think 10, and I think Wind Waker Link is 10. And Brian, I was kind of hoping they were going to cast like a 10-year-old child and go all in on having just a kid play Link.
So let me ask you this. Is this going to be one of those situations where we're going to kind of throw some of the video game lore aside? Because in most Zelda games, we get a different Link and a different Princess Zelda.
Hmm.
You don't think they're going to recast these characters with every movie, right? Like you think they're probably just going to keep these characters and like kind of do a Harry Potter thing where they come of age with the film series, right?
Man, I had never even considered what you just said, and now I'm so sad that they're not going to do it. That's such a good idea to recast them every time, but no way. Yeah, no way will they do that.
Yeah, I mean, especially if this is a hit, like these
Yeah.
people, these actors are going to be playing these characters for the next 20 years if this is like anywhere near as popular and successful as the Mario movie.
Which do you think it will be? Because I have doubts that it's going to be that big.
It- I have been trying to picture it in my head since they announced it, and I just don't know how they pull it off. But I also thought, like, all right, well, the Mario movie is going to be hard to pull off, and like, there are problems with that film, but like, overall, it's one of the better video game films, and
Mhm.
I can have a fun time rewatching that at any point. And I saw it 3 times in 10 days when it first came out because
Okay.
well, one was a screener for the interviews that I did. The other one was the premiere that I went to. And then the other one was I went because I bought tickets for it before I knew I was going to those things.
Mhm.
But I,
Nice.
I
Yeah.
wasn't like hating my life by the end of watching that third time. I was like, okay, yeah, this is still a fun movie. And I had a lot of doubts about the Mario movie going in. And I think that Shigeru Miyamoto has taken this heavier handed involvement in the movies and like the surrounding stuff, not so much the games. I mean, he still remains involved in that, but it sounds like he has really transitioned into this role of just overseeing all of these partnerships, whether it's the theme parks, whether it's the movies or anything. So that gives me
Yeah.
some hope that he's not going to let them go too off course in the way that we got with like that original Super Mario Brothers movie
Yeah.
back in
No
the
one.
90s.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that's going to happen. Like I think the worst thing that could happen is we're going to get a completely like inconsequential movie where like the story just doesn't really do anything or say anything, and it just feels like a watered down version of like what we see in the games. Like
Mhm.
I don't think because they've announced like this like 16-year-old kid playing Link, like I don't think we're going to get like an Ocarina of Time story like adaptation right off the
Yeah,
bat. I
you need
think
two actors to do that, right?
exactly. I don't
Yeah.
think they're going to like CGI age this kid up. But like, I mean, what story do you think we're going to get? Do you think it's going to be like maybe like a Skyward Sword like origin style story, or do you think they're going to do something completely different?
I think it'll be Breath of the Wild. I think that just became the Zelda brand. I think Breath of the Wild is almost a more recognizable term than The Legend of Zelda. People know what Breath of the Wild is. I think that I look at Wes Ball's Apes movie and it has like dilapidated, rundown cities that are overgrown with like greenery, and like it just looks like that post-apocalypse that Breath of the Wild goes for. So I think that that's what this will be. Not necessarily what I really want. I kind of want just an original thing. Like let's just get a new telling of the Sacred Three and just see what happens. But I think they'll probably mostly take influence from Breath of the Wild. Like I bet Link will wear blue, not green, as an example.
Oh. I mean, the picture that they very strategically used of the actress who's playing Zelda was she has a blue shirt on, so that would
Yeah. Hmm.
stand to reason that they would do that. I don't know if they would. I mean, I could see it just being kind of like an establishing like story of like, all right, well, here's what Hyrule is, here's what like I don't know, but I think that you might be on to something there. The other question I had for you is, do you think they try to like slow roll Ganon in hopes of getting like a multi-film franchise out of this where like the stakes continually escalate, kind of like how they did with like Joker in The Dark Knight, where it was like Batman Begins was like Scarecrow instead of the iconic Joker as the villain? Or do you think they just go for broke and give us either Ganon or Ganondorf in this one?
I think they go for broke because Nintendo's if they use Ganon once, they'll just use him again. They don't care. So yeah, I think we'll see him in this movie for sure because nothing's a guarantee. We only know of one movie right now.
Yeah, my theory is that we're going to get Ganondorf through like 95% of this movie, and then at the end he's going to turn into Beast Ganon. And then
Yeah,
that's going to
that'd be
kind
cool.
of set the stage for like, the next phase of this franchise if we get extra films.
Do you think that they're gonna turn or kind of do a bigger name for Ganon since the other two names are kind of no name smaller?
That's what I was thinking. Like, I think that they have to. Like, not necessarily like because the film is going to need it, but like it's hard to market a massive film that they are undoubtedly hoping this is going to be without some big name to put on the movie poster, right? Like,
Yeah. Hmm.
I mean, man, who would play Ganon? Like, do you have any names in mind?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I just still so against this idea. I'm just like, yeah, whoever they pick's fine. Whatever. It's okay. Sorry to be such a downer on this. I just am so devastated. This is not like a animated movie, like a hand-drawn Studio Ghibli style thing. So
Oh,
perfect for Zelda. And I think that this will be fine. I think it'll be good, but it's just yeah, every time we talk about it, I'm just like have to bite my tongue because I don't think it's gonna be very great.
I hope it's going to be good. Like,
Yeah.
I I will hold out hope. I have my concerns, same as you. But yeah, I do think that like a Breath of the Wild style story, but I think that jumping right into like Calamity Ganon might be a little too much.
Yeah.
But like I could see it being like, all right, well, Link has awakened from like this slumber, and like we learn about this defeat that happened 100 years ago, and you know, uh, kind of piecing together the story through that. Similar to like the Breath of the Wild structure. I
Mhm.
just don't know if like maybe they do like a combination of like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where it's more Ganondorf focused, but it is like kind of the Breath of the Wild storyline. I don't
Yeah.
think they're quite ready to do like the Tears of the Kingdom time travel thing.
No, no, me
That seems a
neither.
little too much for a first movie that they're trying to establish a kingdom and like a
Yeah,
world.
yeah. And
Uh,
you're right, it needs to be Ganondorf, not Ganon, because you can't just have two young actors that nobody knows running to fight a CGI beast. I don't know. I don't know how many people who aren't Zelda fans would go to see that.
Now, do we get? I can almost see it being like a combination of like a convergence of stories with Breath of the Wild, where it's like Zelda's kind of like peeking out from her room, being like, I don't know if I trust that guy who's like swearing fealty to my dad.
Yeah.
And then like then it becomes like, all right, well, he's betrayed the kingdom and like plummeted it into peril, similar to how he did in Ocarina of Time. We don't get really the time travel element of it, but we do have like Zelda and Link working together to take him down. But it does have more Breath of the Wild style, like ruined kingdom elements. I don't know. Like there's
Yeah.
got to be some way to pull from multiple games. But then by doing that, do they ruin some of the stories that they could tell in the future?
Yeah, and then the post-credit scene, Link pulls a sword from the stone and splits into four different people, and then it's like that's not what I want them to adapt next. But they already used everything else.
Well, we still have a long way to go, almost 2 years before this movie comes out. It comes out May 7th, 2027. And fittingly, Miyamoto ended his tweets with, "Thank you for your patience,"
Nice.
because we have
Yeah.
a couple years still to go. 2027 is shaping up to be a huge year for movies, by the way. So that is
Is it?
also
What
going to.
else?
That is also the Avengers movie, the
Mm,
Secret Wars.
mm.
There was another one that I saw where I was like, oh my God, like there's a lot of big movies coming out that year. Um, I think that's when the next Sonic movie is set to hit.
Oh, no, that's right. Yeah. Mhm.
I think they've said that the Batman Part 2 is going to hit 2027.
Oh, okay.
Beyond the Spider-Verse, which who knows when we're ever getting that, the third
Yeah.
entry in the Into the Spider-Verse series. And apparently Star Wars Starfighter, the Ryan Gosling Star Wars movie, is also coming out 2027. So
We'll see.
yeah, we will see how many of those movies. But usually movies are a little bit better at holding their release dates than video games are.
Yeah, for sure.
But some of those have already slipped. So who knows? Logan, before we jump into talking about the main event here, we also got another piece of video game movie news, and that was a trailer for Mortal Kombat II. So the first movie came out in 2021. I don't think you saw it, but I had
Nope.
to. I did the media stuff for it. I interviewed the cast. I reviewed it for us over on Game Informer. It plays a little fast and loose with some of the lore, which whatever. It's a movie adaptation. It's not like a straight like it's not like we're watching like the cutscenes on YouTube the way you would like a video game that you don't want to play. But like people didn't like the lack of a tournament structure because that's like so critical to like the Mortal Kombat like lore, and they didn't like how like characters like Goro and Scorpion were kind of pushed off to the side. Like those are like the characters people go to these movies to see. But I think overall it was a pretty fun homage to the games. So we got this new trailer. They did like the whole like premiere thing on YouTube. They had the director of the film like before the trailer hit talk about like, oh, we're gonna get new characters, new fatalities, new realms, all this stuff. And then they had Ed Boon welcome everybody basically to the trailer, which was kind of cool. The trailer itself is heavily focused on Johnny Cage, who is making his debut in this movie. They kind of teased him at the end of the last movie, but you know, Johnny Cage is one of the most iconic characters in all of Mortal Kombat, was completely absent from the first movie outside of seeing a poster for him at the end of the movie. They also are debuting Katana and Shao Kahn. So, you know, very iconic characters. Jade is also in this, Baraka. So a lot of love being paid to some of the characters that were not in that first movie. They look like they're really leaning into like the Mortal Kombat lore. Like they are like they're showing like Johnny Cage as the washed up actor and like being recruited and very much being like in it for himself, but also like extremely vain. Like, you know, there's a scene where he's fighting Baraka and Baraka brings out his long like claw things, his knives that grow out of his arms, and Johnny Cage is just like, hey, not the face, and it's like, all right, well that's very in character, and it's played by Carl Urban, who is one of the main characters of The Boys. If you ever watched that show, I love that show. So I was skeptical about his casting because it like Billy Butcher in The Boys is such a different character than Johnny Cage, but he seems to be pulling it off pretty well in this trailer. One of the other big criticisms of the first movie was that Louis Tan, who he plays a character called Cole Young, who is not in the games whatsoever, he was the main character of the movie. So it's just like, wait, why is this like, why don't we have Johnny Cage, but we have like this new character that, you know, the character's fine. It was like kind of supposed to be like the audience POV, not really like a character within Mortal Kombat. It's like, hey, here's a guy who's going to like basically look into the camera and be like, wow, this is crazy that this stuff is happening. But I don't know if we really needed that. He is like literally a blink and you'll miss it. I didn't see it in the first viewing of it. I had to go back and rewatch and be like, was the main character of the first movie just not in this trailer whatsoever? And he was in like literally probably a half-second shot. Okay. But he is listed on the cast. We see Hiroyuki Sanada, who just won an Emmy for Shogun. He is back as Scorpion, and hopefully it seems like he's doing a lot more in this movie than he was in the first movie, which was a big criticism as well. He just kind of appeared in the beginning and then showed back up at the end. Not really much presence, but seems like they've learned from that, hopefully. And yeah, Shao Kahn is played by a bodybuilder turned actor named Martin. What is his name? His name is... now I lost it. Okay, Martin Ford, who I guess was in the second Kingsman movie, which I love the Kingsman movies. I don't remember him, but I mean, he looks huge and intimidating, and he's beating people up in this trailer, and that's basically all you need from Shao Kahn. He just needs to be a big, intimidating presence who can fight well. And you know, I looked up this guy, and he is 6'8" and a bodybuilder, so he's extremely muscular. So that's all you need. You need a guy who looks good behind like a skull mask. Nice. But yeah, lots of returning characters. You've got Tati Gabrielle, who was, you know, has been in a lot of video game movies. She was in Uncharted. She was in, what was the other movie that she was in? She's in The Last of Us season 2. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the cast is looking great. The story looks whatever. The tournament is in this one. They reference the tournament. And it looks like it's going to be like a fun time, if you ask me. Like, I don't know. There's no red flags immediately. I hopefully they learned their lessons. Hopefully it's not a Mortal Kombat Annihilation situation where it's like, oh, we got a pretty good first entry. Let's see what the next one is. And it's just a train wreck. I think that I have some pretty good confidence in this, and it comes to theaters October 24th.
Okay,
So
nice.
not too far. You're not a big Mortal Kombat guy, I take it.
Never touched Mortal Kombat ever in my entire life. Never played. Yeah. I know some of the character names you're talking about just because of the culture, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I think everybody knows Scorpion. We do get a good get over here, and it does sound like it's from the game and not from Hiroyuki Sanada, which is a cool homage because Ed Boon, co-creator of Mortal Kombat, famously did the get over here in the games. So I'm wondering if they got Ed Boon or at least sampled like an old recording of him to do it, because Hiroyuki Sanada has a very recognizable voice, and I did not sound like him, although maybe I just don't know what he sounds like yelling "get over here" in English, because in Shogun, which is what I'm most familiar with, he is speaking entirely in Japanese and usually at a pretty low volume. But yeah, I mean, did you ever watch Shogun? Because that show absolutely rules.
Yeah, that show's amazing.
Yeah, I just rewatched it actually, and I'm like, oh, I forgot that he's in Mortal Kombat. I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, October 24th, I will definitely be there to see it. And if I wish that they would put Mortal Kombat 9 on other platforms, because for some reason it's delisted, theoretically, because like they delisted all the versions except like the Ultimate Edition, which had all the DLC, which is like, okay, that's fine. Like we can just have that version. But the problem is it had a lot of crossover characters. And the theory is that Freddy Krueger, who is one of the DLC characters from Nightmare on Elm Street, has like a licensing dispute. So that caused the entire game to be delisted from all platforms. So there's just no way to play this game.
Yeah. That's such a bummer. Like the Forza Horizon games that always get delisted because of their cars and music and stuff. It's like, man, I just want those to stick around.
It's frustrating, but that Mortal Kombat 9 would be a great place to start if you can find like a physical disc, because it is just a rebooted retelling of Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, really?
So it's like they basically like, because before that there was Mortal Kombat Armageddon, which was like the culmination of the entire series to that point, and literally like every character died. And at the very end of that, Raiden like basically goes back in time to try and set things in a different motion, right? Like try to push things down a different path so this doesn't happen. And he goes back in time to the first Mortal Kombat game, and then like you replay through those first 3 games in like a modern version. So it's kind of a cool like neat remake in that way. So I'm sad that that's not currently like available unless you have like a physical disc, or you already owned it on Steam before it was delisted. But Mortal Kombat 1, which came out I think 2 years ago now, was a soft reboot of the franchise. So like if you just want to get to know some of the characters, like don't play the Switch version unless the Switch 2
that
like,
one looks so funny. Yeah.
Johnny Cage's face was pretty rough in that one. But yeah, the PlayStation 5 version of Mortal Kombat 1 ran smooth as butter. So check that out if you want to like kind of familiarize yourself with some of the characters in the series. But there's also I have the utmost confidence in Digital Eclipse, and they are doing the Mortal Kombat Classic Collection, I think it's called.
Spelled with K's, as you would think.
Yes, with K's, which is, now that I think of it, it's weird that Johnny Cage is spelled with a C. But although I guess like he's from Earth, so not like the Mortal Kombat realm where everything is a K. So I guess that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, those are probably the best ways to experience it. But like, you can also just look at, like I said earlier, you can look up the cutscenes on YouTube and really just familiarize yourself with the characters in that set.
Shopping is hard, right? But I found a better way. Stitch Fix online personal styling makes it easy. I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences. I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscription required. And he sends just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and styling tips. I keep what works and send back the rest. It's so easy. Make style easy. Get started today at stitchfix.com/Spotify. That's stitchfix.com/Spotify.
That's
cool.
But you've been busy playing something else, Logan.
Yeah,
you've been playing a game that I think that everybody listening to this podcast has been extremely excited for, and that is Donkey Kong Bananza. And give me your initial thoughts here. You scored it extremely high. We'll get to that at the end here. first of all, when this was announced, what was your takeaway when it was a Donkey Kong game instead of a Mario game at the Switch 2 reveal?
Incredibly hyped. I think that I was one of the highest people I knew on this game the whole way through from start to finish, just because I remember at that New York preview event that you and I were both at, people I talked to were just like, it's a Donkey Kong game. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, when I played it, I'm like, the Mario team made this. And I talked to Bill Trinan the next day in an interview, and I said, so did the Super Mario Odyssey team made this? And he gives the classic, you'll have to wait to find out. But like,
Nintendo loves that line.
They do. It's a classic. But I just had such a good feeling about it after going hands-on with it. It just had that Mario DNA. I'm also just a huge Donkey Kong fan. I reviewed Country Returns HD earlier this year. I played the whole Country series this year. Tropical Freeze is like my favorite 2D platformer of all time. I adore that game. And I've been just like banging the bongos for Nintendo to bring back Donkey Kong. They had to care about this guy again. They have just mistreated him over the last decade with no new games, a pretty lame Mario versus Donkey Kong remake, I mean, I don't want to say lazy, but a pretty bare bones port of Returns, which is still a great game, but not a great port. I was like, man, what are they going to do with him? And then this Bonanza finally happens. It's this big return for one of Nintendo's original characters, and I just couldn't be happier that they went in this direction.
I mean, I think that that what happened was the Mario movie took off the way it did, and Donkey Kong is the co-lead of that movie. Like, it's Mario and Donkey Kong as like the co-leads, and obviously characters like Luigi and Peach also have time to shine in that. But they were like, we've got to do something to capitalize on the increased popularity of Donkey Kong right now. So I think that's why we got Mario versus Donkey Kong and a quick port of Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, because they were just like, well, we got to get something out, knowing that they've been working on this Donkey Kong 3D game. They would, in a perfect world, they would have loved to have that out like 2 weeks after the Mario movie hit. But I mean, we saw that the Ask the Developer series where they were just like, oh, we were developing it for Switch 1, but like we needed to wait for the better technology to make this work the way we wanted it to.
Yeah, which is great that they did too. It's like, I think that I'm very happy this is a Switch 2 game, because that side by side of what it would have looked like on Switch 1, it's so much better what we have now.
They should have done that for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, they should have. They really should have. Pokemon Company could never.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about your impressions, because I've played probably, a total of like 3.5 hours. If you count all the preview events, there was the one at the Switch 2 reveal. There was the one last month in New York. And then I put about 45 minutes into the retail version last night before I became a real sleepy boy and decided it was time to go to bed. So yeah, just give me your overall thoughts about Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Yeah, do you want me to share my score as well?
Hey, go for it.
Yeah, this is the first 10 out of 10 I've ever given at IGN. It's the first masterpiece rating I've assigned a game, and I'm so excited about it. And I tossed and turned over the score. Like, I take scoring pretty seriously and like really, really considered if this deserved that. And after playing for 60 hours, I decided that it did. I am so in love with this game. It easily goes toe-to-toe with anything Mario has ever done, in my opinion. Mario Odyssey is my favorite Mario game. I think I like Bonanza a little bit more than Super Mario Odyssey. This is one of my favorite games of all time. It's one of the best platformers I've ever played. And I think what just sets it apart so much is just seriously, I'm over the moon about this one. It's like the simple mechanic of just ripping a chunk out of the ground. And you worry at the start, is this going to be a gimmick? Is this just this destruction idea they had and this is what it is? No, it's Nintendo. Come on. They come up with 100 different ways for you to interact with these chunks, whether it's the different moves you can do with it, like throwing it at an enemy, surfing on it, like how Link's shield surfs, double jumping with it. There's just so many different things you can do physically with it. But then the material changes throughout the game. It's not just stone and dirt and sand. It's like, no, here's this rainbow material that launches DK into the air when he picks it up, that we saw in the direct for this game. Or there's boom rock that you throw at something and it explodes. Or there's concrete, which you need boom rock or something stronger to destroy. And then the enemies are caked in these different materials, and you have to know in your head what material beats what, like rock, paper, scissors. And then Donkey Kong has to go and find that material, pick it up, and then go beat the enemy with it. Like, it's just nonstop creativity and clever puzzles with smart solutions that just make you go, I can't believe they thought of this. Over and over, I was saying that to myself. Like, I can't believe they did this just with this mechanic of ripping a piece of terrain out of the ground. It just never stops getting better. And I just love when games mechanics and puzzle design and movement just all work together. They just all synchronize and come together to create something that's just a masterpiece.
And something that worried me early on when I played that demo at the Switch 2 reveal, and then I played like I did 2 hours at the second preview event.
Okay, yeah.
And for the first 90 minutes, I was like, is this game just like super easy?
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to, I think it was the forest layer, where it was like, you know, the thorny vines everywhere. The enemies were like you said, coated in different materials. There were poison water all over the place that I could fall into. That was where I was suddenly like, oh, okay, yeah, there are difficult areas of this game that I don't have to, because that was one of my Mario Odyssey is also my favorite 3D Mario game. And my one critique of it is it's a little easy until you get to like the post game.
Mm-hmm.
Then it becomes like, all right, now it's like difficult to actually like do some of these challenges. Donkey Kong Bonanza seems like it doesn't wait for the post game to start giving you some more difficult challenges. But like, you've played the entire game, and it sounds like a lot more than just the game, like the mainline stuff. Talk to me a little bit about how the difficulty scales as you go.
Yeah, I agree with that initial concern. And really what I've landed on is that this is something they've never done before. This is not a Mario game where you know how Mario triple jumps, you know how he backflips, you know how to long jump. So whatever they stack on top of that, you can kind of acquaint yourself with quickly because it's Mario. You know how he works. They've never built a game that controls this way, where you have 3 different buttons that punch in different directions and all these different things he can do. It's very different, and I think it takes a few layers to get your head wrapped around it, and I think Nintendo knows that. So like the second layer in this game is called the Hilltop layer, and it's essentially just a giant skate park for DK to turf surf around. That's what it exists for. Like, hey, learn this mechanic here, because trust me, in the second half of the game, you're going to want to know how to do it, and you're going to need to know how to do it well. And what I've been like likening it to is Bonanza feels like Galaxy 1 and Galaxy 2 smushed together. The first half is Galaxy 1. Look at all these cool things we came up with and these mechanics we've built. And the second half is, okay, now we're going to test you on them. And I think that's really smart in how it does it. The toughest stuff still does lie after the credits, for sure, just like any 3D Mario. But the second half of this game, like you mentioned the forest layer, that's still in the first half. Like the second half of this game just is a constant crescendo and gets better and better and more complicated and really, really cool. And it's partially what's hard to talk about why this is a masterpiece to me. The second half of this game is a huge reason why. The mechanics they keep introducing are they're brilliant. And I just love what they do with it. And it's like every challenge room just like is a mix and match of, we'll take this enemy, we'll coat it in this material, and we'll give DK this limitation. Go solve it. And they just never stop doing that. And it's what I love so much about it.
Now, you're talking about the moments here, which we're not going to spoil, but
no spoilers.
It's safe to say that like Mario Odyssey, I think about like, there's 2 specific moments that I think about whenever I think about that game.
Same.
One of them is the festival scene. And I mean, I guess there's a couple of additional moments, like the first kingdom you go to after beating the main story, and the final sequence in like the final boss battle. Like those are like the 3 moments that immediately come to mind. Are there moments that you think people are going to look back at with Donkey Kong Bonanza and be like, oh man, that's the thing that's going to stick with me for years and years?
100% yes. Absolutely there is. I would say 2 again that stick out to me. One is in the mid game. It's not as good as the New Donk City Festival. That's just unreal and really hard to top. But it was the moment where it kind of hit me over the head like, oh, I'm playing one of the best games I'll ever play right now. And I know why right now. And then the finale is incredible. I like it as much as the Odyssey one, just for very different reasons.
Wow.
So, and that's the Odyssey finale is like my favorite video game moment ever. And Bonanza matches it with something equally special and cool.
Well, that is exciting.
Yeah.
Something that I'm also very excited about is that with every with every Bonanza transformation, there appears to be a different song from Pauline. Mm-hmm. Pauline's music in Odyssey was some of the best stuff on that entire soundtrack. How is the music overall in Donkey Kong Bonanza?
I love Pauline's vocal tracks a lot. And just to talk about that for a second, they're very Splatoon idol like. And you know, I'm a
Yes.
huge Splatoon fan. I love Splatoon's just personality. And it's just, I mean, it's very fresh. That's what they say in Splatoon, but it is. It's this fresh, younger, creative energy that Splatoon has that other Nintendo franchises don't as much. Bonanza has that, which is really cool. Bonanza, even in its boss design and Pauline's vocal tracks, it has this young, creative ambition of modern Nintendo. It has the creative, will let you break anything, do anything, like see that mountain, you can punch it, like feeling of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And it has the wonder and joy of Mario Odyssey. So it's like Bonanza has every core Nintendo franchise just in its DNA, which is really cool. But the music as a whole is really, really strong. I don't think it's better than Odyssey's or like Donkey Kong Country's, but come on, we're talking about those two of the best soundtracks ever.
Yeah.
It's really, really great. I'd say it goes for more like atmospheric vibes, which is a very Donkey Kong Country thing to do. Like there's not earworms besides Pauline's songs. Like Pauline's vocal tracks, yes, those will get stuck in your head, but the level themes themselves are more like setting a vibe, which is cool. I dig that. It's just not quite like Odyssey. Like I can think of the music in every kingdom in Odyssey. I can't as much in Bonanza.
Steam Gardens is always going to be
That's
the
the
bar.
one. Yeah. Why do we just agree on everything like that? It's just, yeah, that's the one.
Except I am replaying Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom currently. Like I'm starting with Breath of the Wild and going with the Switch 2 upgrades. And I am starting to think that we may have chosen wrong in our ranking of the best Switch games, Logan. I look.
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom is still number 2 for me.
Yeah.
But man, Breath of the Wild is so special. So we may disagree on that.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. I feel like a lot of people disagree with me on that one.
God, it's just such a special game, Breath of the Wild. But I mean, Tears of the Kingdom is phenomenal as well. So I can't really be like, oh, we really screwed up and put like the number 25 game at number 1 by accident.
Yeah. Well, actually, on that note, I think there's a lot of parallels between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and Odyssey and Bonanza, because Bonanza to me has a lot of what I love about Tears of the Kingdom. It's like just insane what they pulled off here technically and what that leads to gameplay wise few other games can do. Just these handcrafted, smart, intentional tunnels that draw your eye. Like you see a fossil poking out of the wall, you break that wall down. There's a reason they put that there and wanted you to break that wall down. It's like how Tears of the Kingdom, the thing I gush about in that game is every bubble frog they thought about where you'll ascend and pop out of, right? It's the same thing here in Bonanza. And just the insanity of being able to destroy everything, like Tears of the Kingdom's building. It's like it leads, you can circumvent puzzles and just punch your way through them. You can do that if you want. I don't recommend it. Just like how in Tears of the Kingdom, you can pretty much just build a hover bike and do whatever you want with that. And so it's the same where like Mario Odyssey is more like, this is a straightforward, masterful 3D platformer. And Bonanza is like, whoa, they went nuts over there and tinkered and created this unbelievable world that's just really fun to interact with.
Yeah, how does the exploration hold up in this? Because, like, talking about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, that's my favorite part of both of those games. And it's also a huge component in Mario Odyssey. Like, does this hold up, like, in terms of just the joy of exploring these areas against those three, goats of the genres?
Yeah, I think that it goes right up there with them. I love the exploration in Bonanza, and I think part of that just comes with how fun DK is to control. Like if I compare Link or Mario or DK, DK is my favorite hands down. Give me him every single time. I love how he moves in this game. He climbs everything like Link, but he doesn't have any stamina. He's just go, 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 go. This monkey never runs out of energy, ever. And it's so much fun to just romp around as him. Like he's punching, you can never stop punching. And I think like the world design, it being these layers, and you've played enough to know there's like sub layers. So the lagoon layer has 3 floors stacked on top, and the way that Nintendo's interlinked them, like, oh, we need to get over there, but to get over there we need to go back up to the top layer, unlock a new hole to drop down to this new layer. It's just all links together, and it's world design I've never seen from them before, just because of how it works. They've made 3 worlds that go together and link together in a smart way. It's like Tears of the Kingdom's overworld in the depths, but in these small, concentrated, like really handcrafted levels. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, is there any kind of analog you can draw between like this game and another Nintendo game? Because like you looked at Mario Odyssey and you're like, okay, this is just the perfected version of what they were doing in Mario 64. Is there like another game that like the design kind of goes towards, or is it just Tears of the Kingdom? Like, is that the closest we got?
Yeah, I'd say Mario Odyssey plus Tears of the Kingdom is Donkey Kong Bonanza, like in really interesting, weird, surprising ways. Those are like the two games that I think the most about when I'm playing this game. And so when I struggled over the score, but where it became very simple to me is like, I'm comparing this to Mario Odyssey and Tears of the Kingdom. Like those are both in my top 10 games of all time. They're both most slam dunk 10 out of 10 games I know. Like this is, those are the games I think about this game with. This game's a 10.
Now, most importantly, did you get your Donkey Kong and Pauline amiibo?
No, not yet. It should be showing up today since we're recording on actual launch day. Yeah. And once I gave the game a 10, I bought a second one to keep one in the box and unbox one, which I usually don't do. But yeah, I just wanted to have something like that as kind of a like to commemorate this review, which was really fun for me.
I have still not given a 10 at Game Informer.
Oh, really? Okay.
I've given two 9.5s. One was to Metroid Prime Remastered, and the other one was to Forza Horizon 5. Nice. But those are the highest scores I've ever given at Game Informer. I mean, I think I gave some because I was operating on a 5-star scale at the site that I was running before joining Game Informer. But gave a few 5 stars. I think God, I can't even remember what some of the ones that I gave 5 stars were. But like, I have been waiting and waiting to see if there's a game that tells me that I need to give it a 10, and nothing has jumped out immediately, but I could see I could see how this would capture that. Like if I was the one reviewing Donkey Kong Bonanza, unfortunately I'm not. Kyle Hilliard is handling this review for us. Mm-hmm. I mean, what you're telling me and what I've played so far, I mean, it could potentially be up there in terms of like being a candidate for receiving it. And it really makes me happy that you felt confident enough in how great this game is to give it a 10.
Yeah, for sure. And it was just like, another thought I had is if I don't give this a 10, I don't think there's ever going to be a game I would give a 10 because the bar would just be set too high. It's like, because then I'd say, well, this is a 9 and I'd be holding everything to that standard, right? Nothing would ever get there because Bonanza is not perfect. I have a couple of issues with it, which we can get into, but it just gave me a sense of joy and excitement and like giddiness over a game I haven't felt since Zelda 2 years ago. And that just was clear to me. Like if its highs can get to that peak that is so high that only a handful of games I could probably count on both hands have ever reached in my life, like, yeah, it's one of my all-time favorites.
And it is important to note, you did mention that, like, you have a few minor complaints about this game.
Yeah.
10 out of 10, despite what people want to paint it as, that is not a perfect game. There's no
such thing.
Exactly. That is just the highest accolade that you can give a game outside maybe Game of the Year. Like, I mean, because like if there's 2 10 out of 10s in a year, like there's only going to be one Game of the Year. So maybe that is considered a higher accolade. But this is the highest award that you can give to a game from a criticism perspective. So 10 out of 10 before anybody jumps on Logan about like, oh, it's not a perfect game, because we're about to talk about some of like the things you didn't particularly love about the title. That's not what it means. Just because it got all the points available does not mean that it is perfect. So
yeah, at IGN we call it a masterpiece, and like, yeah, I play this game like, yeah, these are masters at the peak of their craft right now. Like, this is one of my favorite teams in the world, one of the most talented teams in the world, making something entirely new and just incredible. So yeah, it earned that for me.
And actually, before we jump over to kind of like the not negative side, because we're not going to be super negative on this game, but stuff like that you're gonna nitpick a little bit here. Mm-hmm. I did get a chance in my second demo to do a boss battle. How are those playing out for you? Did you enjoy the boss battles overall?
Overall, yes. I would say this actually starts to get into the nitpicky side anyways. I think that
perfect.
The bosses are generally just a little bit too easy, which I also feel in Mario Odyssey. It's fine, and it's supposed to be that anyone of all ages can beat this game, which I understand. But I think where Bonanza just stumbles a tiny bit is that the Bonanza transformations, the Kong Bonanza, Ostrich Bonanza, and Zebra Bonanza, are just so powerful. And Kong Bonanza specifically can just tear through health bars of bosses. And sometimes it does. Sometimes Bonanza does this thing where like you can no longer hit the health bar because the boss needs to transform into its second phase or whatever. But for the most part, this is not wait for it to do its thing, hit the weak spot, repeat 3 times that Mario's done forever. This is more of a brawler style. If you can get to the boss, you can wail on it, you can kill it. And as Kong Bonanza, you can like one cycle some of these bosses in 20 to 30 seconds. And it's just over. And it's a shame because the designs are all awesome. Some of them are very Splatoon, like I was talking about. They look ripped straight from that style. They look great. The music is great. But just if you choose to launch into a Bonanza, which you pretty much always can, the currency is called Bananergy, you'll pretty much always have enough.
Yeah. Hate that / love that.
Yeah, right. But because it's a bar that refills by collecting gold. But gold pops out all the time, just everywhere. And so basically the second you use that bar and it's empty and you're Kong Bonanza, you'll tear through a wall and enough gold will pop out to fill that meter again. So if you want, you can pretty much always be a Bonanza in this game, which the bosses, it means you can take out really quickly. And then the puzzles too. Like if there's a puzzle you need to kind of build your own path to, you can just turn into the ostrich and glide to it. So it's very Tears of the Kingdom in that, yeah, you could build that hover bike and just do everything with it if you wanted to. I had way more fun doing the actual curated puzzles because they're genius in many cases. So I recommend playing it that way. And I think I do admire that Nintendo's just like, yeah, sure, any solution that works is a correct one. They're still doing that. That's their modern Nintendo philosophy. But I think, yeah, that's the biggest hang up with the game is the Bonanzas just... They make it really powerful, really overpowered, and I think you'll appreciate this. I've been comparing it to, it's like if Sonic could just go super at any moment, and you could play the whole game that way.
I mean, hey, you could do that in the older games as long as you had 50 rings, but it's interesting that you bring that up because I remember when I did the demo, I got to fight Grumpy Kong, which I think is in the forest, or maybe it's
in the canyon. Yeah,
canyon,
it's an early
yes.
buff. Yeah.
Okay, so it was right before I went to the forest in for the final part of my demo, and like the person giving me the demo, they worked at Nintendo Treehouse. They were like, oh, don't forget you have your Kong Bonanza. And I'm like, I know, I want to do this like with skill, not with, with just like press the button to win. And then like they sent over some B-roll after the fact and they went to the Kong Bonanza and I'm like, oh yeah, see how quick that went? Like that wouldn't have been as fun to me. But I guess like if you're really stuck on something or you want to make it like not a big deal, you could theoretically just do the Kong Bonanza and it's kind of like a press to win situation. But yeah, I don't know.
I think what I think about with it is like the top comment on my review on YouTube says like, this is going to be some kid's childhood. And that's amazing. Oh, totally. Like if I were a kid, this would be the best game ever. I still think it's one of the best games ever. And as an adult, but like, I just can't even imagine how special it would be for this to be your childhood game where you can just rip through everything. And for kids who love Minecraft, like they love this game. Like that's so cool that they made this. And it feels like an example of Nintendo actually looking around the rest of the industry and seeing like, oh, kids like these games where the world is yours and you can shape it in your image. And then they made a highly curated platformer that people like us will still love and that they'll love. So yeah, if I'm a kid, I'm going to Kong Bonanza every time and just beating the heck out of that boss because it's fun.
Well, I mean, they also did a little bit of that with Tears of the Kingdom with how much stuff you can build and
totally.
Basically break the game in that way. So yeah, I mean, that comparison continues to keep coming up. So, and I immediately thought that when they introduced like Ultra Hand and everything, I was like, oh yeah, this feels like they're marketing it to like the Fortnite and Minecraft generation.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see them continue doing that with a game like this.
But still make games that we like too. Like it's a really fine line they're walking. That's just, it's masterful. Like they're so good at this right now.
Mm-hmm. So I only got a brief moment of I only got to play one of the challenge rooms, which let's talk a little bit about the challenge rooms here, because those puzzles were so much fun from what I got to play. Is like the comparison to like them being kind of like the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom shrines, is that like continue to be apt throughout the entire game?
Totally. I'm glad you brought these up because they're my favorite part of Bonanza. I love them so much. It's a perfect hybrid of a Tears of the Kingdom shrine and a Mario Odyssey challenge room that you throw Cappy at the door to go in, and then there's stuff in there. But I think they're way better than the ones in Odyssey because they just toy with the mechanics in ingenious ways. I've played this game for 60 hours, and last night I was playing, and I'm like, I just did something I've never done before in this game. Still, I am having that experience. And it's just so cool how many puzzles there are. And they're usually very like layer dependent. Like if a layer introduces these 3 mechanics, all the challenge rooms, like, okay, let's do it this way. And now this way, and now this way. And they're all very, very different from each other. Like an example is, like the rock I was talking about earlier, that if you lift it up and then DK like takes off, there's like 6 puzzle rooms that do completely different things with that idea, and then they'll mix it with a different mechanic that it just clicks in your head and feels great. And it does that thing where there's 3 bananas in every room, and there's 2 that are always on the main path, and then there's one that's like, you have to know your Nintendo games to know where they stuck this away. You have to know to turn around at the beginning, you have to know to look at the ceiling for something that doesn't look right, and it just rewards that kind of veteran Nintendo knowledge and language and expertise in really satisfying ways.
And some of those are in 2D. Which
Yes.
How many of them, I'm obviously not the exact number of 2D challenge rooms, but like, was it a significant amount? Did it feel like you were, oh cool, another 2D one?
There's a big handful that are in 2D. I'd say maybe a quarter of them are in 2D.
Oh, okay.
But in terms of like the retro country throwbacks, that's only a handful. Like there's plenty of 2D ones that aren't like, oh, this is the first level of Donkey Kong Country. But there's a few of those, which is really cool too.
Yeah, because I only got to play one of those, and I am always hesitant when it's like, this is a 3D platformer, but we're going to do a 2D section, because like, even in Odyssey, it didn't feel quite right. It felt good. It didn't feel quite right. And then you look at something like Sonic Generations or Sonic Forces, and it just feels completely off because it's using a 3D engine trying to do 2D gameplay, and it just doesn't translate properly. It either feels like too floaty or too heavy. I thought that the 2D gameplay of Donkey Kong Bonanza in the one challenge room that I played felt really good.
Feels great. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad that like through more scrutiny and more time with it, it still felt pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely like I prefer the 3D sections for sure, but it is cool to just shake it up. And Bonanza's always shaking things up, and that's just one way it does it. So I really like them.
And it's great to have more. I mean, as excited as we are for a new 3D Donkey Kong game, like the first one in 25 years, it is kind of cool to get new 2D Donkey Kong content, just because like I know you and I both love the Donkey Kong Country franchise. Yeah. So it's nice to see at least some acknowledgement of that side of the franchise as well.
Yeah, which this game does. This game is so cool in that it honors every era of Donkey Kong, from like arcade Donkey Kong that Miyamoto designed that started all of this crazy stuff, to when it was in Rare's hands in the UK and they made the Country Trilogy and 64, to when it was in Retro's hands in Texas and they made Returns and Tropical Freeze. Like DK has been passed around this torch for the last 40 years to various hands, and they finally went home to Nintendo again for the first time since Jungle Beat. And I'm like, okay, are they just going to kind of, because Jungle Beat is so not Rare. Like, there's no Rare in Jungle Beat. They intentionally like, no, this is our new thing. It's like, okay, is Bonanza going to do that too? No, Bonanza lovingly pays tribute to the Rare era, the arcade era, the retro era in surprising ways, that it's like, this is something wholly new and a new start for DK, but it knows where it came from too. And I love that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm very happy that they are like acknowledging all those different eras of DK, because, you know, quite frankly, I love most of those eras. So it's cool to see like the same way that Mario Odyssey did a lot of that as well. Like whether it was the 2D sequences that looks like the NES version and gives you kind of like the chiptune versions of the music, or that aforementioned kingdom that you go to right after the credits roll of the main story. It's
how cool is Odyssey that we still don't want to spoil it 8 years later? Like, come on.
It rules so hard. Like I actually was watching a breakdown video of the various different endings, because I never 100%ed that game. Like I played a lot of the post-game stuff, but like I didn't even realize that there is a special reward if you max out your power moons at 999. I did not even realize like there was some cool stuff that even happened then, even though it's not like a significant reward. Like you can easily get the full experience just by looking at it on YouTube. But it was like, oh, that's interesting that they even thought to do that, given that, like, you know, you basically max out in like the mid 800s if you just played like all of the content in the game. And then you have to go back and actually spend more like coins in order to get up to 999. And then you get a little reward for that too.
I actually got to 999 this year on my original 2017 save file. And it's just crazy. Bonanza is such a crazy coincidence, because in January, when we had very few Nintendo games on the horizon and we're just waiting for the Switch 2 Direct in April, I played the entire Donkey Kong Country trilogy, and I got my Odyssey save file to 999. And I was just like, man, really craving a game like this. And then Bonanza got announced, and it's like I just couldn't believe it based on where my headspace was at.
Yeah, and we there's one more negative that we need to talk about a little bit here, and that is the performance. So
Mm-hmm.
I saw that like the developers acknowledged it. They said like, hey, like we were prioritizing fun over making it so like the frame rate was always at like 60 FPS or whatever. And I get that, and I'm not like going to be somebody who's like, oh, well, it dips below 60 FPS sometimes, this is instantly a garbage game. Like once it gets to the level of like, you know, Pokemon Scarlet, then maybe it becomes more of a problem where I start taking off points of my review. But like
Mm-hmm.
I think that the thing for me was that when I was playing it at the New York event, not the one that we saw each other at, but the one where it was dedicated to Donkey Kong Bonanza last month, and I know how Nintendo handles these events. Those are usually retail or near retail builds of these games. But I got these frame rate dips, and I'm like, all right, well, hopefully they're still optimizing. I don't know. It wasn't enough to be like, all right, we've got to really take this game to task. It's a month out from launch. It was more just like, that's a little rough around the edges there. But my big thing was that this is the second big game that Nintendo is putting out on its new powerhouse console, and it doesn't give us like the performance that I would expect from like a new system. Like, how distracting was it? Did it really detract from your experience at all? Obviously not too much, because you still gave it a 10 out of 10, but like, how frequently did you notice like, this is not really performing the way that like, you know, other games might?
Yeah, I noticed it. I think it honestly varies in what layer you're in. Like if you're in a more atmospheric layer that has lots of weather effects on screen, it's worse in times. But if you're in a layer that's not like that, it's like a perfect 60 almost the whole time. So it's inconsistent in that way, but I would say it never really impacted my experience negatively. That being said, I'm not a big stickler for performance. It only really gets to me if it's super noticeable the whole time. Like Link's Awakening, Echoes of Wisdom, those bugged me a lot. So it does bug me sometimes. I'm not just totally oblivious to it. It didn't bug me in Bonanza. It just really didn't, because when it's happening is when there's a million particles on screen, and so you're distracted by just how much chaos is happening. And sure, it dips to 30 for a second. It doesn't matter. Like it really, really does not impact me at all. I think that I noticed it, and it was never something that I was like, I'm like going to take this masterpiece rating away because occasionally it dips to 30. Like, no, it's not a big deal. It's really not. I get the sentiment that this is a Switch 2 game. This is a big Switch 2 exclusive. That's a shame. It's also the first like AAA 3D platformer to ever be built entirely out of breakable voxels that you can rip this whole thing down to the studs. And to me, if I'm going to pick a platformer that doesn't have that but runs at a perfect 60 or Bonanza, I'm picking Bonanza every time.
Yeah, I would agree. And I when I say performance issues, you're exactly right. It dips down to 30 for like a couple of seconds, then goes right back to 60. This is not a Pokemon Scarlet issue where like you go out into the middle of the water and there's a few Pokemon there and suddenly it turns into a slideshow presentation.
Yeah.
Like it's not that from what I've seen and from what you're indicating.
And it's not like Echoes of Wisdom where it's like walking, stutter, but back to 60, back to 60. Oh no, we're down again. Oh, we're back. It doesn't do that either. It's not like this constant. Your mind is always thinking about it because it's always happening. It's like, oh yep, sometimes you'll notice it, and other times you won't, and that's fine.
And you mentioned that you're replaying Link's Awakening. Just a little bit of a sidebar here. Does that run substantially better on Switch 2 now?
Oh my gosh, it's a whole new game. Yeah, like it's one of the ones that got a dedicated patch, and it is finally the full realization of this toy art style. It looks like toys walking around on your table now. It's gorgeous. It runs perfect. Yeah, I love it even more than I did because of just how great it looks now.
Yeah, I never made it all the way through that remake just because I was like, I'm not really loving this performance that I'm getting out of the Switch.
Highly recommend. Yeah.
Maybe after I finish Donkey Kong Bonanza, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom, I will go back and play Link's Awakening. So I'll get to it by 2028.
Yeah, after the Zelda movie, after we already know everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Donkey Kong Bonanza, it's out now on Switch 2. Logan, you gave it a 10 out of 10. And if you'd like to read Logan's review, you can do so over on IGN. There's also a video version on the IGN YouTube channel. And I would imagine it will also be a pretty substantial talker on Nintendo Voice Chat this week. So go check that out on wherever you were listening to this show. Also, go check out the Satoru Iwata episode that Logan brought up. From what my listeners have told me, I have not gotten around to that episode, but from what my listeners have told me, you tackled it in a completely different but just as effective way of approaching this man and his career. So
yeah, that's
definitely
cool. I'll have to listen to yours and see what the differences were. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, so it's cool that like people were saying like it almost worked like a companion piece to one another, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's plenty of overlap talking about his accomplishments and everything, but yeah, very cool that it kind of fit together like two pieces of a puzzle in that regard.
Comcast is committed to bringing access to the internet to all Americans, including rural communities across the country, like Sussex County, Delaware.
We were being left behind. Everybody around us seemed to have internet, but we did not. High-speed internet is one of those good things that we needed to help us move our farming, our small businesses, our recreation forward.
Learn more about how we're bringing our next-generation network to more people across the country at ComcastCorporation.com/investment in America.
Yeah.
But we're not going to take any breaks this episode. We're just going to transition straight to Definitive Ranking, which is a recurring segment where we take a Nintendo topic and give our own personal top 5 lists. Since this episode was talking all about Donkey Kong Bananza, and you seem to love it quite a bit, Logan, I want to get your top 5 games with Donkey Kong in them. So start at 5, count it down to 1, give me a sentence or two about each.
So I took this to mean a game with Donkey Kong in the title because I was like, well, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I'm not going to count that. Like I didn't do that. That's the direction I went because I had to build a top Donkey Kong ranking list to embed in my review anyway. So I'm pulling from that. Number 5 is Donkey Kong 94 on the Game Boy. Yeah, this is a remake of the arcade Donkey Kong, the first 4 levels, but then there's 100 more levels after that. It's the best Game Boy game ever, in my opinion, and it has really good platforming. You're playing as Mario, chasing Donkey Kong. But yeah, this is the first game that had a triple jump for Mario. Like this came before Mario 64. Like this informed Mario's moveset in 3D, and people don't always fully recognize that. It's a really influential one and still really fun. It's on NSO. Go check it out. Number 4, Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, the last time Nintendo developed an internal Donkey Kong game, and it's a platformer where you use bongos to control it. It's just insane, and more insane than the concept is how well it actually works. Like they nailed it, and it's really fun because it's not like precision platforming. It's like Tony Hawk. Like you want to stay in the air as long as you can and combo and clap to grab bananas, which I'm just now realizing is in Bananza, and they pulled straight from Jungle Beat. I don't know how I didn't plug that together before. Super cool. And it also is the first game from Nintendo Tokyo, who then went on to make Mario Galaxy. And if you play it now, having played Galaxy, you just see the DNA all over it. Like there's like fuzzy bumblebee enemies that are exactly like what they look like in Galaxy. Like it's a really cool one in Nintendo history. Number 3 is Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest, my favorite of the original Donkey Kong Country trilogy. Awesome game. You rescue DK in this one. You don't play as him. You play as Diddy and Dixie. It's a really dark Nintendo game, which is cool. Like the vibes are bad in this game, but in the best way. One of the best soundtracks of all time. Really cool animal buddies like the spider that you like shoot the webs and then platform on the webs that you shot, which I really like. Yeah, it's a classic. Number 2 was number 1 until this week. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, my favorite 2D platformer of all time. Unreal level design from Retro. Super cinematic, Uncharted-like in places. Gorgeous game, amazing soundtrack. Yeah, so fun and hard to 100%. One of the hardest modern Nintendo games there is. This game's difficult, and that's great. And number 1 is Donkey Kong Bananza. You just heard me talk for a half hour why. It's, one of my favorite Nintendo games ever.
Great list. Unfortunately, I'm not able to put Donkey Kong Bananza on my list quite yet because I've only played a few hours if you count the preview events. But yeah, we have a lot of crossover, even though I did not take that same route. I just did anything that Donkey Kong has appeared in. But I tried to limit it a little bit. So number 5, I want to say Donkey Kong 94 for all the reasons you listed. Awesome. It's an incredible evolution of that original arcade game. I forgot that the triple jump was in that. And I also forgot in my head the timeline that like this was before Mario 64, which makes sense because it's called Donkey Kong 94, so it came out 2 years before Mario 64 in 96. Yeah. Number 4, I did Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I just had to. I mean, and if you want to just go like, oh well, everybody's in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, we could even go back to Smash 64. Like that when it wasn't like every gaming character ever is in that game, because then you could be like, all right, well, let's just list every every game that Sonic is in, and you could put Super Smash Brothers Ultimate up there too. But like, if you want to just say the Super Smash Brothers series, because Donkey Kong has been in that since day one, then I would also accept that. Similarly, I'm going to say Mario Kart World at number 3, because
Whoa, you like World that much? I did not know this.
I love Mario Kart World. I mean, obviously I've put more hours into things like Double Dash and Super Mario Kart and Mario Kart 64 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but that's just because I've had them for longer. Mario Kart World, I think, has some of the best designed courses, and it's also honorable mention for giving us our first glimpse at this version of Donkey Kong, which I remember like when that Switch 2 teaser came out and they showed like the first footage of Mario Kart World and we saw Donkey Kong, we're like, the internet got set ablaze for like 36 hours as we all tried to process that our big apey boy is now a little bit different looking.
Yeah.
And I think for the better, honestly. Like I think I love the old school version of Donkey Kong that we got when Rare created him. But I think this is a more expressive and fun version of Donkey Kong that they can really lean into, whether they want him to be angry or happy or goofy or whatever. Like, I think it's for the best, even though it was a little jarring at first.
Yeah.
Number 2, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
Nice.
I reviewed this back on the Wii U when it came out, and it is just one of the greatest 2D platformers of all time. You said it in your explanation for why it's on your list. It is just terrific. It is extremely difficult, as you indicated. It has some very cool level gimmicks. And it really showed that Rare took what they did with Donkey Kong Country Returns and evolved it in just an incredible way with Tropical Freeze.
Mm-hmm.
And for number 1 for me, I'm going to go the original Donkey Kong Country. And I acknowledge it's not as good as Tropical Freeze. I acknowledge it's probably not as good as Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's probably not as good as any other game on this list, if I'm being honest. But because of nostalgia and personal meaning for me, in terms of like, you know, this was the game I used to play with my dad when I was growing up. And this was like really the game that showed me that like, the graphics could be what that game delivered us on a Super Nintendo. Like that game should not have run on a Super NES, but it did somehow, and we got 3 of them. And Donkey Kong Country, the music of that game, the levels, the characters, they all are going to be embedded in my head for the rest of my life. And it's also really, I like it just for the fact that you play as Donkey Kong. Whereas the other ones, for some reason, you are either rescuing Donkey Kong or something, because like I never got past that. Like I could get past it for Donkey Kong Country 2 because Diddy and Dixie are a cool combination, but like I don't know, it just felt weird not having him.
Kitty's the worst Kong in
the worst.
DKC3. Yeah.
Oh, I hate him. But yeah, Donkey Kong Country takes home the number 1 spot for me. Those minecart levels made me want to scream. I think that's one of the earliest examples of me raging at a video game, but you know, still extremely fond memories playing through that entire game multiple times when I was a kid. So I think we both have very good lists. I can't wait to slot Donkey Kong Bonanza into there at some point. So I'm very excited to play more of that. Before we head out, any predictions for next week's Pokemon Presents?
Oh, people will be mad. That's my prediction. That's all. That's what usually happens at those events.
That's anytime anything related to Pokemon comes out. I learned that when I did the Pokemon Sword and Shield cover story for Game Informer back in 2019. The Pokemon community gets angry a lot. That's something that I really came to understand in a very personal level.
No, it's. I like Pokemon. I've played Pokemon my whole life, but I have said it is just my least favorite thing to talk about, like on NVC, because just no matter what side of the fence you fall on, you have thousands of people that say you're wrong and that are really angry at you. Like, oh, they don't perform well enough. They perform just fine. They look great. Like, no matter what, you are on the wrong side of the fence.
Yeah, I definitely got some of those when I was still on Twitter and still talking about like exclusive stuff about Pokemon. So yeah. I've experienced that as well. We will obviously cover that stream from the Pokemon Company on next week's episode. Also, show note here, I will be traveling a couple weeks from now. So I will be doing a Q&A episode in the near future. So you can email me or head to the Patreon or Discord server and leave your questions that you would like to see answered on that episode. Do that sooner rather than later, because I'm going to probably be recording it next week. But Logan, as for now, thank you so much for joining this episode of All Things Nintendo.
Thank you. Yeah, that was super fun. And I hope everyone out there just has a blast with DK Bananza, because it's a special one.
I cannot wait to smash through more walls and grounds and dig deeper into the various layers of that game.
Yeah.
But thank you so much to everyone for listening. As you know, my Patreon and the associated Discord server are the best ways to get questions or comments in, but you can also get in touch with me, Brian, at allthingsnintendo.com, or find me on Blue Sky or Instagram at Brian P. Shea. Logan, where can people find you online?
You can find me online at Logan J. Plant on most platforms. That's the same handle I use everywhere. And yeah, NBC, every Friday we have our DK Bananza episode up right now, so go check that one out.
That is our show for this week. Thank you again for listening. Take care. We'll see you next time. Before we close out, I just want to give a special thank you to the $10 patrons of the All Things Nintendo podcast. Alex Stadnick, Andy Junkins, Ben Richland, Chaps My Ass, Derek Sigmund, Dusty Beeman, Ian T. Clark, Jason Thompson, Jawar Hello, Johnny Five, Jose Villalobos, Joshua DeProy, Casey Radio Man, Cody Gibson, Creeper207, Pat Roberts, Paul at Drunk on Mako, Pratable, Rob McCann, Bobby Mac 265, Robert Sosa, Roberto Nieves, Roger Reichert, Russell Sayer, Smithy Poo, Zachary Pliggy, and Zek Three Swords Sama. Thank you so much for your continued support. I could not do this show week after week without you.
Hey there, Hugh from Podderation here. If you like today's show, why not check out Make Believe Heroes, a family-friendly D&D show for all ages. Join our eclectic, lovable cast as they explore the world of Manumi and beyond in a show that's designed for everybody to be able to enjoy. If you'd like to hear more, check out our website at podderation.com.